Hi, bud. Bring it down. I got some wheel chocks here, custom made.
Hey, can you wash that thing off before you brought it over here?
Hey, what can I tell you, bud?
You're messing up my driveway. Hey, welcome to Shadetree Mechanics. Well, boy, we got a project ahead of us today. A friend of ours was driving down the road the other day, and he saw a mud puddle. He started to drive through it. Well, as it turned out, it wasn't a mud puddle. It was like a small lake. Anyway, he got stuck in it, flooded the engine out. Now it won't run. Now it's Sam and I's job to figure out why.
That's right. Now, this is something you don't want to do. You know, when you get a lot of rain and you get these flash floods, and you see that water standing in the road, it can be a lot deeper than you think, just like this guy found out. And I tell you what, you get into that water, get into the electrics of the engine, this thing just shut off, left him stranded, had to tow it, and now he's got a pretty good repair bill.
I bet you we can find a catfish in there somewhere. We look close enough. Well, now, of course, what we have to do is figure out what's wrong with it. And like Sam said, electronics don't like water that well. Of course, this thing quit. We got to go and figure out what's wrong. I don't think it's dead by any means. I think we can save it. It didn't get water up inside anywhere. It just covered the engine.
That's right. Now, there's a lot of electronic components in these new cars, as you know. You got computers, you got all the sensors. And of course, we checked out one thing, the battery's already dead, and the tow truck driver disconnected it. We gathered up a whole bunch of parts, so we'll have everything we need to fix this, depending on what we find.
It's a good thing we got some good friends in the parts business.
That's right. Hey, Joe, did you leave me the keys?
All right, now, this will give you an idea of what it takes to fix a car like this. Now, normally you don't go down and buy all these kind of parts and then try to figure out what's wrong. But like I said, we have a good buddy down at the parts store. He loaned this stuff to us. They don't normally do that either. But let me give you an idea of what we're faced with here. Here's some of the parts we may use. This is just a plain old water temperature sensor right here. This may have to replace. We'll find out about that later on. Also, we have a throttle position sensor right here. Again, we'll check this out to make sure that we don't have to replace it. If we do, then we've got one. We even have an electronic EGR valve right here that's on this engine. Plus, look at this right here. This is called the electronic ignition module. Looks a little bit different than what they used to look like, but this is something that may have to be replaced. I don't know until we check it out. We even have a spare coil pack here. And over here, we've got a spare computer. Now, you don't normally go buy these things and try them out. You better make sure that you need one of these things before you put it in there. Plus, we even have a spare prom to go with it. Now, to top it off, right here, we've got our diagnostic kit. This is our meters here, code scanners. We'll probably have to use this in order to find out exactly what's wrong with this thing. But we got a lot of stuff here ahead of us.
That's right. Now, you don't want to go buying all this stuff because these are electronic components, and once you buy them, you own them. You can't take them back. With all this stuff and the good scan tool, one thing you need, here's the key right here, and this is out of the service manual. This is all the printouts for checking all the pins and so on. You really have to have this in order to diagnose these new electronic engines.
If you don't have that, you're dead in the water.
Oh, great. Just like this car, huh?
We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to get started. Come on, let's wash that thing off. I hate working on dirty cars. Okay. Telltale signs of a water-damaged car may include water in the crankcase, discolored upholstery, and mud or rust under the seats. Let me get this out. This is not looking good, Sam.
How bad?
Let's get it out of here. Yeah, it's wet. It's wet on the inside, too. Hey, welcome back to Shadetree Mechanics. Well, we got the car in here. We washed it down because I hate working on a dirty car.
And you didn't do a great job because I got it all over me here, buddy.
Well, I tried anyway. Well, one of the first things I wanted to check out here was to see if we got any water here in the intake. And Sam, you can see there's water in here. The filter's all wet. I'm afraid some got up in here.
Well, it's pretty normal with the engine running. Of course, that's not good for this hot wire mass airflow sensor for sure.
No, chances are we're probably going to have to replace that. The other thing that we wanted to do is we wanted to make sure that the engine didn't get any water inside it at all. So we drained the oil out of it, and I'm putting fresh oil back in it. We changed the filter as well. Luckily, there was no water in the oil, so we lucked out on that, Sam. Now we're ready to go ahead and fire this thing up if we can get it to run.
That's right. Of course, we also put the fuel pressure gauge in. That's important.
Exactly, and Sam's gone ahead and put in a fresh battery. Meanwhile, I'm going to go ahead and hook up the code scanner.
Okay. Now, what's real important when you diagnose these electronic engines, you need to have some really good basic things, like all the ground's got to be good and clean. You need a good battery source. Now, this thing went underwater, got shorted out, and of course what happened is the battery was dead. So we got a brand new fresh battery, good clean grounds. But we always put a fuel pressure gauge on, so when you want to start something and crank it, if it doesn't run, you can start diagnosing whether you got fuel pressure or lack of it or lack of spark. So this is ready to crank, Dave. I think it'll go. Go ahead, give it a whirl.
All right, hold on.
Not a drop of fuel pressure, buddy, not a thing.
Okay.
So we got something else going on. What are you seeing on the scan tool?
Well, either we got a burned out fuse or we got a computer that's bad, but look here, Sam. No data at all.
data.
I'd like to think it's a burned out fuse.
Well, that's the first thing to check. Before you jump into something deep electrical like a computer or connections and so on, you want to check everything. And there's fuses underneath this panel. And Dave, you got a set of fuses under the dashboard there. We'll check the fuses. Make sure it's not something simple before you jump the gun. I'll just remove this little panel here. Right here is a relay panel and a fuse center. All right, now, Dave and I have checked all the fuses. Fuses are fine, so we got deeper problems with that. So I want to get to the ECM, which is the computer. It means the Engine Control Management Computer. Okay, now, what I've got here is a connector. This connector is for the supplemental restraint system, your airbags. You want to make sure you don't have an inadvertent airbag deployment. That gets real expensive. Most of the time, you just disconnect the battery. In this case, I got to have the battery because I got to check out voltages and so on. So I disconnected the harness. They're always yellow, and they're marked with a label that says right on it, SRS. Okay, now, this car's got a lot of electronics in it. It's got a complete computerized air conditioning system, so there's controllers and programmers under here. And the computer is up under here, and it's got 3 wire harnesses to it. I've taken the bolts out, but I can't get it out all the way yet. So I'm going to pull my glove compartment down. The reason I'm taking this out is something took care of the computer. Something burned it up, and it's probably an appliance under the hood, one of the sensors or the controllers that got wet, got shorted. Here we have a service manual, and each one of these pins has a voltage value or a resistance value. We need to take our voltmeter and check each one of them. So I'm going to take the glove compartment out. I've already got the screws along the bottom. Take it apart in here. I pop the trunk switch up. I just take it off its connector. Okay, get that out of our way. That's the trunk release. And then I'll just go ahead and pull the glove compartment out of my way. I just love working on these cars in this position. All right. This is our computer. It's an aluminum box, has a PC board in it. Of course, has the PROM mounted in here. And here are the 3 connectors we've been talking about. We got a red one, a white one, and a blue one. Okay, and they correspond to the harness that's down here. Now remember, I have the key off when you take this thing apart. All right, here's our 3 connectors. We've got blue, red, and white. I'm going to start off with looking at the first page in the service manual. It identifies the connectors, tells you where the pins are, and what the voltage should be. The first thing I'm going to do with the red connector and turn the key on, okay? Let me get a voltmeter set up here so you can see it. Now, I'm using the 20 volt scale. I got the black lead hooked out to the battery. We take our red connector, going to go to the first 2 pins, and that should be battery voltage. This is the electricity across injector 1 and 2. 12.3 volts. So the next one, 12.3 volts. All right, now I've got, as you can see, those are both good. We have got like 4 pages of these pins to check. A long, tedious process, but you got to do this because if you have something shorted inside and you put in a new computer, as soon as it operates, it'll burn up the new computer. So you've got to do this, check every pin for voltage and resistance. Make sure you take the time to do that. All right, I just got through checking out my last pin. I had some problems. I wrote them down as we went along. By the way, this ground lead from the multimeter, I've got it run right out to the battery, and that's what you want to do. So when you're checking grounds, if you have any differential, you know you got a ground drift. You want to make sure you do that. I took a pad, like I said, and I wrote these things down as I went along. We definitely got some problems.
It takes a while to do that, doesn't it, Sam?
It does. We're going to need one of these, buddy.
Okay.
Now, here's what I found. We have an EGR control signal and an EGR reference signal. They're both bad. Okay, that definitely tells us we got an EGR problem. We have on the white connector on D1, there's no voltage to the data stream. That's why the scan tool wasn't communicating. We don't have a fuel pump relay voltage supply, which is why we don't have a fuel pump. And of course, we got a MAP signal. It's not getting anything out of there. We probably got an open MAP sensor circuit.
Well, that tells me a lot right there. We'll go ahead and open this thing up, see what it looks like on the inside. All right, now, if you've ever wanted to see what one of these computers looks like on the inside, we're going to give you an opportunity right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull off this cover so you can get a look at it. You're going to find it's a pretty complex piece of equipment. Okay. Pull out. Now you can get a look on the inside of it. You can see, got a circuit board in here, got all these chips. This right here, this is what we call the PROM, or the program read-only memory. This is basically the software that drives your computer. Now, let me pull this out. It just clips right in. Take that out. Now you can see better inside. Now, somewhere along the line, one of these chips has probably been burned out. That's why this computer is history. Let me get this out of the way and show you what we're going to replace it with. And what we're going to use here, this is a remanufactured unit from Standard Motor Products. Now, what they do is they have all the specifications from all the different automotive manufacturers, so they can remanufacture this to meet those specifications. Also contains the same warranty that the original equipment manufacturers have, and it'll meet or exceed the performance. Also meets all the government standards as well. Now, if you look inside, you can see they're identical. What they'll do is they go and replace all these chips here with brand new ones, and any of the components that have a 25% failure rate, they replace those as well. Now, if you look right in here, this is again a PROM. Now, you should replace the old PROM with a new PROM. Don't put the old one back in here because you may have some problems with it. And this PROM also may be upgraded, so you get an upgrade with it as well. Now, when you replace it, you notice it's keyed. What you want to do is make sure when you slide that in there, put it in there gently, get it lined up, and just push it in like so. That way, you don't stand a chance of damaging anything in it. Well, this is just about ready to go, but before we put this in, we got to make sure all these controllers and sensors are working properly, because if we don't, we put this in, we're going to zap a brand new one. So we don't want to do that. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to continue, so stay with us. When chasing electrical problems, always start small. First, check for a blown fuse. If you find one, then trace the circuit to determine what caused the fuse to blow.
Are you getting in my way?
Sam, I'm always in your way. Hey, welcome back to Shadetree Mechanics. Well, we're working on a car that has been underwater just a little bit. Got some water up here around the engine, shorted out some of the components, which then took care of the computer. So what we've done here is we've gone ahead, done some testing. We've found a few of the controllers and sensors that have to be replaced. Once we replace those, then we can go ahead and replace the computer. What I'm working on here is the mass airflow sensor. This is located right up here on the intake manifold. Let me pull this off and show you what it looks like. Take that off. Now, if you look right in through this little hole, you're going to see two little fine wires. Now, they heat up, and they'll actually measure airflow across there that sends the signal then back to the computer. This thing got zapped when some moisture got in there, probably fried one of the little wires. We're going to have to replace this.
All right, now, what I'm replacing here, or removing here, is the EGR valve. This is an electronic EGR valve. It's a digital valve. And of course, it's got a connector right here. So it either got water in the connector when this thing got in the puddle, or it got water in the motor. One way or another, it's shorted. It needs to be replaced. And the other thing I'm going to replace is the oxygen sensor.
Here you go, pal. There's your replacement parts.
Thanks, man.
All right, now, what I have here, I've got the replacement mass airflow sensor. Now, this is a remanufactured unit. This is from Standard Motor Products, and it's got a little code on it. You want to make sure that you match the code up for the right one for your particular engine. This one says K, so we've got the right one for this. Now, they said it's remanufactured. Let me put this in here. It'll meet or exceed any of the original equipment specifications. Also has the same type of a warranty that the original equipment has, and it'll meet all the government specifications as well. The nice thing about it, though, just a lot less expensive than new.
All right, now that mass airflow, the initials are, the acronym is MAF, and what that does, like Dave said, measures the airflow using a reference voltage from the computer, tells the computer what to do as far as fuel and spark in the engine. The early systems had a MAP sensor on them, MAP. That was called the speed density system. It looked at vacuum or engine load, but they both accomplished the same task. Now look at this oxygen sensor here. One on my left hand here, this is the original equipment. This is the replacement from Standard Motor Products. Looks a little different, but they work exactly the same. This is high quality, comes with a nice connector on it. It's got the original type connector here and so on for the weather pack. Works great. Now also, Standard makes a brand new EGR valve. This is a replacement for this engine. Now it comes with two gaskets. I need the bigger of the two, so I'll need this one right here. Now, I lucked out. Look at this, buddy. When I pulled off the EGR valve, gasket came with it.
How'd that happen?
I don't know, but it's clean down there, nothing to scrape. Now, you want to make sure that you always scrape a gasket surface clean. That's pretty standard. Put the new gasket in place the right way, bolt the EGR valve down, plug the wires to it, nothing to it. All plugged up, you're ready to go.
Okay. Well, all right, here's what Sam and I finally got accomplished. We got all the controllers and the sensors replaced, and we found that were bad. After we did that, then we went to that multi-pin connector, you know, one with all those little fine pins in there. We had to go back and check every one of those again to see make sure that everything was all right. We want to do that before we plug it into the computer, because if there's something wrong, we could blow the computer again. Well, everything checked out all right. Sam's got the computer plugged in. Now we're ready for the acid test.
All right, turn the key on. You should see a check engine light, and I should get fuel pressure.
I got check engine lights, so we're talking.
And there, immediately we got fuel pressure. The computer's supposed to send a signal to the pump relay, gives us fuel pressure for 2 seconds. Bingo, we got it. Now this thing ought to run. What do you say? Go ahead, give it a crank.
All right, clear.
Yep. Hold it.
What's going on?
Well, we got fuel. Go ahead, try it again. All right. All right, there's a chart in there. We've got fuel pressure, but the engine doesn't run. It cranks over okay. What's the next step there, pal?
All right, let me think. Well, the obvious one, Sam. Let's check to see if we got a spark somewhere.
All right. Now, on these electronic ignition engines, especially these DIS or distributorless ignition, a lot of energy here. To check spark, you don't want to just pull a plug wire off and hold it to the block. Get yourself a little calibrated tester like this. Plugs into the end of the spark plug wire. You ground it someplace. And all you have to do then is spin the engine over and watch it jump the gap. All right, Dave, go ahead. Crank it up.
All right.
Not a lick of spark. All right, now what does the chart say?
Well, what the chart says is follow the chart till you find out what's wrong. So we're going to have to follow this down.
All right, Dave and I have followed the service manual step by step using the digital multimeter. And our diagnosis tells us that right under these coil packs, we're going to find what's the culprit. And that is right here, the primary ignition module. This is bad. Now, you don't have to go to the dealership to get OE quality. You can get these in other places for sure.
Yeah, and in fact, you can go to any parts store that handles Standard Motor products, pick up a module just like I have right here. Now, let me pull this out and show it to you. This is what it looks like. Comes complete with the weather packing all around the terminals. If you look right in here, again, it's got our weather packing in there so you have a nice watertight seal. Now, it's got a little pin right here. This will fit right here on the mount so you can get it mounted properly. There we go. Now all you have to do is just get your coils organized here and go ahead and plug them on like so. Okay, that pretty well buttons that up. Got a new air filter in there, new oil and filters, everything all put on and put back together. It's time to try it one more time. Sam, give her a shot.
Here we go, man. Watch. There you go. All right.
Hey, I tell you what, that runs pretty nice. Nice and smooth. I'm surprised.
Well, these 3800s are good engines, running good. I got my scan tool hooked up. And there we go. Now, we're going to see all our data. You can see the data here. This is all of the sensors, all of the things that the computer sends signals out to and receives signals from. We can scroll through pages of it. We want to get it up to running so we can go in a closed loop, watch the oxygen sensor switch over, everything we need to have.
Well, we're going to have to go road test this thing. We'll put a hood on and everything. You know, Sam, one thing about I learned this on this engine, it doesn't make a very good marine engine.
No, it's not a marine engine for sure.
We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to show you some new products, so stay with us.
Look, it's already gone into closed loop. It's starting to switch over.
Replacing a worn-out oxygen sensor with a new one can increase fuel efficiency by 10 to 15%.
What's up, Al?
Hey, those look pretty good. Hey, welcome back to Shadetree Mechanics. Well, we've picked up some new products. Sam, show them what you got.
Oh, we got a whole line of products from Prestone. They're the division of Allied Signal out of Danbury, Connecticut. It's a new line of gas additives. They got the cold start, fuel system, antifreeze, and cleaner. This is for winter use, of course, if you've got anything in your fuel system. They also have the winter fuel system cleaner, and these have antifreeze in them, of course, if you have moisture in your fuel tank. They got an all-purpose gas treatment that boosts performance, helps clean the carburetors and fuel injectors, but they have a specific fuel injector cleaner, and these run from $2.50 to $4.75, depending on where you get them, and they're available in good parts stores everywhere.
Well, eat your heart out, Sam. You're going to want one of these.
I love that thing, man.
Now, what I have here, this is called the Road Demon. Now, this is a carburetor that's got vacuum-operated secondaries. It's all billet. Look at this. It's a beautiful piece of work here. Got a billet metering block in here, so it eliminates porosity. That way you don't have any variation in your fuel circuits. Plus, if you look in here, it's nicely sculpted so the air flows in nicely. And your Venturi boosters here will perform with changing altitude and weather conditions. And if you look over here, it's even got a flow card right here. Tells you exactly what this carburetor will do. Pretty nice unit. This cost about $329 and is from Demon Carburation out of Dahlonega, Georgia.
Perfect for street rods. All right, now, this is from Ingersoll Rand. This is the Hoist and Tool Division, and that's out of New Jersey. This is the IR 2112. It's a 3/8 drive impact gun. Okay, nothing new about that except this one is the most compact and the most powerful available. ergonomically designed, good balance, fits right in the hand, nice and compact. You can get these at good tool suppliers everywhere.
It'll fit nice in my toolbox.
Nice product.
Well, I'll tell you one thing I learned about driving into a mud puddle. Know how deep it is before you start.
Absolutely. If you need to buy some electronic components from, anything from sensors to computers, Standard Motor Products makes a great line of quality products at a reasonable price.
Well, they sure do. Well, once again, we've run out of time. We'll see you again next time here on Shadetree Mechanics.
Bye-bye. What do you say we go outside and clean up some of this stuff?
That's probably a good idea.
Really?
For more information about the products seen on today's show or to order a video cassette copy, visit our website at shadetreemechanic.com. Please refer to the offer number shown. You can also reach us by writing to the address on your screen. Remember, that's shadetreemechanic.com.